My name, my true name and title, must remain hidden for now. But know this, I am one of the sons of the kingdom, a prince of the House of Saud. My father is a direct descendant of Abdulaziz bin Abdul Rahman al Saud, the founder of modern Saudi Arabia. I am called His Royal Highness, and from my earliest breath I have known nothing but gold and silk and splendor. My childhood was spent behind high walls, marble corridors echoing my footsteps, servants always watching, waiting for a gesture, a command. In Riyadh, my family's palaces glitter beneath an endless desert sun, chandeliers above my head, fountains humming in private courtyards. From my windows, I watched fleets of black SUVs, watched the city turn to sand beyond our gardens. There were guards at every gate, cameras in every hall, silence when I spoke, fear when I grew angry. I rode in convoys through the city, never waiting in traffic, police clearing the roads ahead. In Geneva, I tasted winter for the first time, snow falling outside my suite, servants bringing me silver trays, anything I desired, shopping in Milan, private jets at the runway, my brothers laughing in the cabin. The world was endless and empty, always empty. There is a kind of hollowness that creeps into your bones when every wish is granted and none of it means anything. I wore the finest watches, drove the fastest cars, but at night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling in rooms so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat, and the silence was unbearable. I would try to pray, reciting the words I was taught as a boy, bending my knees on Persian rugs, but the words felt brittle, hollow, like sand falling through my fingers. They say depression is weakness here, a shadow to hide from, but I could not hide. It followed me through every door, ate at me as I shook hands with dignitaries, smiled for photographs behind gold-framed portraits. I tried everything, excess, fasting, women, islands in the Mediterranean, but the hunger only grew, the darkness only spread. The party was a cathedral of emptiness, glass walls pulsing with bass, laughter hollow as the polished chrome. Women wore dresses spun of silver and cruelty, teeth flashing in drinks caught under spotlights. My friends, the princes, the sons of oil, drowned themselves in champagne. They threw cash like confetti, and the air was thick with the promises none could keep. None of it touched me. I drank, I smiled, I played my part, but inside, every laugh cut me. The velvet-lined sofas, the $1,000 wine, I tasted nothing but dust. I flirted, I joked. The perfume and the heat, all of it pressing in, choking with a hand of ice. There was a girl in white, her eyes blue as winter skies. She leaned close, murmured fierce promises. And I was supposed to want her, supposed to feel something, but I watched myself reach out and felt nothing but the echo of a man already gone. Laughter thundered overhead as the host toasted the heirs of tomorrow. I raised my glass, mouth aching with the words I could not speak. My own future felt like a prison, walls of money, floors of gold, a vault where no sunrise ever reached. I slipped out before midnight. The city rained slick on the pavement. The doorman bowed, but his eyes were dead with routine. My suite in the hotel on Piccadilly was a shrine to isolation, art worth fortunes, a bed heaped with pillows, a world built to keep out anything real. I locked the door, kicked off my shoes, stood in silence, the kind that gnaws the bones. I poured a drink and stared into the glass, watching my hand tremble, my reflection rippling. Prince, heir, ghost. Desperation drove my hands to the laptop. I sat on the edge of the bed, back hunched, fingers sweating. I opened a browser, encrypted, anonymous. The gaggle of security agents and digital watchdogs was always with us. We learned as children that nothing online is ever truly secret. I typed, "Is this all there is? What do you do when money means nothing?" My heart hammered a warning. Every keystroke could be a death sentence if traced. I blinked at the screen, fear, guilt, hunger, fighting for space in my ribcage. Instinct told me to close it, run, sleep until morning, and forget. But I kept typing, Is God out there? Can anyone truly feel him? A stranger replied. The avatar was a cross, simple. The first message was cautious, patient. What are you truly searching for? Friend from the desert. I hesitated, fingers hovering, checking for spyware, deleting cookies, flipping VPNs. Then, I want to know about Jesus, not the prophet, the son, the Christian one. Words forbidden in my bloodline. I pressed send, waited. He answered. It felt like hours. You want grace. You want freedom from the law. I braced myself. Is grace real? Is it for those born in the shadow of kings? Or only the broken? Grace is for the broken, he wrote. And everyone is broken, even princes. Especially princes. Law is for the proud. Jesus is for those who know their emptiness. I blinked, heart pounding. I am empty. I have everything, but I am hollow. My faith is built on fear, not love, no joy. I felt each word cut me open. I waited for judgment, for mockery. There was none. He replied, fear is the prison. Christ opens the door. Grace is love you cannot earn. Freedom none can buy. I pressed. Is it truly free? In my world, everything costs. Everything is earned. His answer was scripture. I searched it as he typed, hands trembling. Words about the prodigal son, about the table laid for the lost. You don't have to earn what Jesus already finished. But what does it cost? My fingers hesitated. Will I lose everything if I seek him? Am I a traitor? He was blunt. It will cost you. Everything you thought made you whole, but you will gain everything you thought you'd lost. I stared into the pale light of the suite, rain hissing on the windows. How do I begin? I wrote. I do not even have a Bible. It is illegal for me to own one. The stranger didn't hesitate. Meet me. Pimlico Station. I will bring one for you. No questions. I have done this before. Panic rose up like fire. I wanted to refuse, to flee, to return to my cage. But something deeper called me. How will I know you? I asked. He replied, I will wear a red scarf, carry an old satchel. Be followed. 10 a.m. I barely slept. I checked the GPS, the security apps, the protocols beaten into us since childhood. My dreams were hurricanes of shame and hope and terror. In the morning, I wore a nondescript coat and low hat. Clothes, bought the day before. Anonymous. I took a cab, paid in cash. Every turn felt dangerous. Was someone watching? Had someone traced my midnight messages? I got out 3 blocks away, walked to Pimlico. The sky was bruised with rain clouds. London was grey, pulsing with strangers. Pimlico Station breathed underground, the tiles marked with op art, yellow spots, 1,000 eyes hiding in the mosaic. People flowed in and out. Office workers, tired parents, students clutching books. I stood near the escalator, heart jackhammering in my chest. I scanned faces. Was any one of these the agent who would bring me home in chains? Then I saw him, red scarf, battered satchel, hands calm as stone. He looked at me, younger than I expected, but his eyes were ancient. He stopped, nodded. I tried to smile, failed. He spoke, voice low. Come with me. We'll walk. We left the station, the air damp, the world spinning with threat. You are afraid, he said gently. I have never been so afraid, I answered. I am breaking my bloodline, my laws, everything. He smiled, not triumphant, but sad. Sometimes kings must lose their crowns to find their hearts. He handed me the satchel, the Gospel according to John, Arabic and English. Read it in secret, but read it all. My hands seized the book, my eyes filled with tears. Everything trembled inside me. Why do you risk? I whispered. Because you're not the first. You won't be the last. Truth is always worth danger. We parted without another word. I vanished into a taxi, clutching salvation and death in my hands. That day, everything inside me changed. Grace was not a word, but a force. A storm breaking in the silence. But peace quickly became fire, a blazing hunger. I looked at my brothers, the guards at my door, the servants who bowed as I passed, and I saw them with new eyes, saw the same emptiness mirrored in their movements, saw the deadness behind their obedience, and I could not keep silent, could not hide what had taken root in me. It grew every day, a storm raging in my chest. I realized I loved these people, truly loved them, not as subjects, not as property, but as souls longing for life, longing for truth, a truth so forbidden, so dangerous. The only book that could save them was a book so illegal in the palace that possessing it could mean exile or death. That was when the plan came. Insane, reckless, but it consumed my every thought. The servants, the guards, even my own family, they deserved freedom, even if it cost me everything. I would bring Bibles into the palace, smuggle them through the lion's den, 700 copies, 700 forbidden flames, and place the truth where only death was supposed to reign, even if it meant bringing down the wrath of the entire royal house, even if it meant facing the sword, even if it meant dying. We packed the crates in Europe, 2 men and a prayer between every hammer stroke. The warehouse was cold, the scent of glue and fresh wood heavy as incense. I ran my hands along each new plank, feeling for seams, for the pattern that would fool the customs men in Riyadh. The Bibles, hundreds of slim paperbacks in Arabic and English, laid out row upon row across the concrete floor, spines gleaming faintly where the lamplight hit copper leaf. Every crate was split in 2, the top lined with bottles. Perfumes from Paris with delicate labels, their boxes chosen to match the weight of holy cargo below. We built false bottoms deep as a child's coffin, screwed down with aged brass, layered in velvet so that a careless guard might feel only softness. I touched each bottle, checked seals, counted every page. Glue on fingertips, sweat on my brow, 1,000 tiny fears pouring out with every drop of solvent. We wrapped the books in tissue so the smell of paper wouldn't escape, then taped every seam, marked each crate for Her Highness's autumn collection, a lie written in gold that shielded pure fire underneath. By midnight, I sat cross-legged on a bed of holy contraband, heart pounding out prayers in 3 languages. "Make their eyes blind, Lord," I whispered, stacking the last crate. "Let truth ride through customs untouched." I blew out the candles, locked the warehouse, my lungs filled with sawdust, perfume and terror. The flight to Riyadh was silent, a private jet booked in my cousin's name, the crew polite, never curious. The crates lay wrapped and buckled in the hold, perfume manifest checked twice. I watched the desert dawn break over the runway, red and gold against the flat line of horizon. As soon as wheels touched tarmac, my pulse thrummed. Each customs officer, each uniform, a threat waiting in every shadow. I drove the armored Mercedes myself, crates packed behind a mirrored wall. The morning sun was already brutal, heat shimmering across endless pavement, caressing my skin with invisible claws. Every stoplight felt like eternity, a countdown to discovery, a prayer muttered at every flicker. Police cars appeared in my mirrors, blue lights quietly menacing. I watched each intersection for checkpoints, scanning faces for suspicion, hands sweating on the steering wheel until leather creaked under my grip. A truck driver honked as I crossed King's Road, crates rattling behind velvet covers. The city outside the window was alive, sellers hawking fruit, school children spilling onto cracked concrete. I saw the palace gates rising, white and gold, guards arranged in the heat, like ancient statues, faces locked with boredom and discipline. I swallowed, my mouth dry as the desert. At the checkpoint, they waved me forward, but a new man stopped me, hand raised. 30, heavyset, eyes tired but sharp. "Papers, Your Highness," he said, voice formal. I passed him documents printed in Paris, hands trembling ever so slightly. He looked at the manifest, narrowed his gaze. "You returned fast this trip." I forced a smile. Her Highness was impatient. Paris was generous. You know how these seasons are. Perfume, always perfume. He circled the truck, boots grating on gravel. The sun caught his badge, a glint like a warning. I watched, sweat slick between my shoulder blades. He put his hand on the largest crate, thumb pressed into a knot of wood. My heart hammered so loud I could hear blood in my ears. He rapped the side, Dull thud. No echo. He leaned closer, sniffed. The faint mingling of glue, paper and rose oil rose up in invisible clouds. "What's in this?" he asked, still formal, but curiosity lurking. I made my voice soft, bored, royal. "French! I paid extra. They sent their new autumn bottles. They're heavier, yes, because the glass is very thick. Paris is competing with Milan. Not Dubai this year. I brought home only the best for my mother and sisters." He wasn't convinced. He bent, unscrewed one bolt, checked the first layer. Rows of bottles shimmered in pink and cream. He smiled for a second. "Nice." He replaced the bolt, running his hand along the velvet seam, and I nearly fainted. I felt the lie balancing on inches of wood, the weight of 700 secrets beneath his palm. He paused, locked eyes with me. "You know we check random crates, yes?" I nodded, mind racing. "Of course. Would you like to see the perfume? I think you'll love the new scent. Hard to get for men, but I know people." I leaned over, snapped open one bottle, handed it to him. Sweet, cloying, expensive. He grinned, sniffed, eyes hungry. "Maybe next time you bring something for me, eh?" I laughed. Too loud, too bright, but it broke the tension. "If you let me through, I'll remember. This bottle is yours." He nodded, satisfied, stepped back. I felt my legs turn to water. He scribbled on the manifest, waved me forward, gates groaning open. I drove through, body numb, mouth dry. Never in my life had a 10-minute wait lasted hours. As I reached the inner courtyard, I looked back once. Guards lost in the perfume, gates closing behind me. I carried 700 miracles beneath silk and wood and glue. Every mile, every sunbeam burning freedom into my skin. Inside, past velvet ropes, past portraits taller than men, the crates landed in my private receiving room. The door shut, the silence louder than judgment. I knelt on the carpet beside them, hands trembling, opening the fake panels. The smell of fresh paper wafting up in hot waves. Sacred text forbidden in this place. Forbidden for generations. 700 books, stacked like bricks of gold. My quarters now a powder keg. A single servant's suspicion, a single camera's drift, would condemn me 700 times to the sword. I stared, breathless, knowing that if the secret broke, I would never walk these halls again, never see another sunrise. And yet, never had I felt more alive, more desperate, more certain that the truth, here, right here, mattered more than breath. I locked the door and whispered a prayer over every single book, the sound of my heartbeat echoing against the marble. Josephine was cleaning my study, dust motes swirling in shafts of morning sun. She moved with care, her hands gentle even on the marble, her eyes watchful at the door. I'd watched her for weeks, always polite, a word in Tagalog with the other staff, but in English with me. That morning I asked softly, "Josephine, do you ever miss home?" She flinched, paused with her cloth on the bookshelf. "Always, sir. Every day." Her voice was small, trembling. I leaned closer, hungry to trust, terrified to speak. "Do you pray?" I whispered, voice barely audible. Her eyes darted to the camera in the hall. She nodded. "I pray in secret. I pray to Jesus. My family is Catholic. Here I must only pray behind closed doors." The confession broke something inside me. I took the Bible wrapped in a silk scarf from my desk drawer, my hands shaking. "Can I trust you?" I asked, nearly choking. She stared at me, wide-eyed, on the edge of tears. "Yes, I will not say anything. God is with you. He is with me." I pressed it into her palm. Her breath caught. She clutched the book to her heart, tears shining in her eyes. She whispered, "I will hide this. I will Thank you. Thank you." Nah. I watched her slip it inside the linen cart, beneath towels, away from prying eyes. For a moment, the kingdom felt holy. That night, I walked in the garden to find Musa. Palm trees whispered to one another in the warm wind, security lights flicking across stone, cameras stared with mechanical glare from the corners. I kept my head down, caps pulled low. Musa waited by the fountain, face lit blue by his phone screen. I joined him, heart thundering. "Musa, do you dream of freedom?" He laughed. a short, sad sound. Freedom, Prince. Here, we guard a palace but live behind bars. Even you. We stood in silence, the air heavy. I pulled a Bible from my inner coat pocket, feeling it burn against my ribs. You know what this is? I asked. His eyes shone in the dark. I grew up with Christians. My mother was Ethiopia Orthodox. I haven't seen a Bible in 15 years. I passed it to him, hidden in a folded newspaper, his hands trembling as he tucked it into his vest, his mouth whispering prayers to a God he hadn't named in years. No cameras will catch us tonight, I said, but I watched the shadows for movement, praying that angels masked the exchange. One night it nearly ended. I walked the lower corridor carrying a leather portfolio. Inside, a Bible headed for a cousin. At the end of the hall, Prince Hadi rounded the corner, sharp-eyed, suspicious, the soft thud of his sandals on marble. I froze, mind racing. He called out, "What are you carrying?" His gaze drilling through me. I fumbled, gathering my courage. Private notes for father. He wanted my reports from London. His eyes lingered on the shape, too thick for mere paper. He stepped closer, the corridor echoing every breath. I held out the portfolio, my hand steady despite the storm inside. He hesitated, fingers grazing the clasp. Then, suddenly, a robed Mutawa swept by, eyes fixed on the prince. Their conversation drew Hadi away, hands gesturing, patience running thin. I slipped the Bible under my own robe, heart racing with adrenaline sharp as fire. Sweat poured from my scalp, prayers leaking from trembling lips. For long minutes, I pretended to study a painting, eyes fixed on the gold filigree. Only when both men walked on did I breathe again, shaky, half collapsing, clutching truth to my chest. Every Bible I gave felt like planting a bomb, a seed of freedom that could have destroyed me with a single misplaced word. In those nights, the palace was equal parts tomb and sanctuary, every breath a miracle, every heartbeat a risk I was born to take. The pile of sacred contraband dwindled, agonizingly slow. Every distribution felt like an hour, though in truth it took minutes. The heap of 700 began to shrink, 600, 500, then 300, 100 left, hidden under a stash of winter coats. I marked each one in a secret list, the names of those who would one day understand. 50 left, 30, 20, 5. The final one I held in trembling hands, knowing that the evidence now scattered among living souls was enough to destroy me 100 times. Yet, as the last book left my palm, I felt not fear, but significance. A seed of freedom planted in the darkest garden, and the weight of my own destruction hanging over me, heavy as the sword. It was never a question of if, only when. 700 secrets scattered in royal veins. 1,000 risks taken with every whispered exchange. I slept each night in dread, knowing that power in this place moves quietly, invisibly. Suspicion never sleeps. Greed and fear are awake always. It was the maid who betrayed me, Josephine, the one whose trembling hands I had trusted with the first Bible. She was questioned after a routine spot check. The Mutawa found the hidden book, and her terror unwrapped our truth. She gave my name. I cannot blame her. In this place, survival speaks louder than loyalty. The next morning I was summoned. Not gently, but with guards at my door. They said, "His Majesty wishes to see you, Your Highness." My heart thudded so loud I thought the marble rooms echoed it. I walked down the silent mile of gilded corridor, every servant's eyes lowered, every prince silent behind polished doors. The king, my father, sat beneath a great chandelier, the kindling anger on his brow more terrible than any sword. Beside him, the head of security, and a pile, an actual pile, of Bibles on the marble table. My breath caught. Time slowed. The king's hand rose, a tremble passing over his knuckles. He said, "What have you done?" And his voice broke like thunder over a drowned city. They showed me the evidence, witnesses, Josephine's confession, Musa's silence broken by threat, and Khalid, my own cousin, my own blood, spoke softly, said he loved me, but the law was the law. I felt a coldness deeper than the grave wash through me. The king stared into my eyes. I saw tears, real tears, but he called for justice, for the reputation of the family, for the rage of the old laws. He commanded, "You are stripped of all honors. You cease in this moment to be a prince of the House of Saud." My robes were pulled from my shoulders. Guards, men who had bowed for years, cuffed my wrists in iron, the crowd of princes watching, their faces masks. Some hid their shock behind cold eyes. Some turned away in shame. A few wept in silence, but none dared intervene. I was dragged through the palace corridors, marble under bare feet, past silk curtains and gold-framed portraits of men whose sins were never spoken. The shame dressed me heavier than the chains, crushed me deeper than the sentence itself. The head of security pronounced it. "You will die for apostasy, for treason, death by beheading after Friday prayers. Your name erased from memory, your burial place unknown." I heard the words, felt the world tilt away, and yet strange peace settled in the center of my chest, because I knew I had loved rightly. I had chosen the higher truth, even stripped and condemned. Light flickered quietly inside me, a light no sword could touch, a whisper stronger than the threat of oblivion. My body was carried, arms shackled, head bowed, brought through a maze of corridors I never knew existed. Beneath the palace, cold stones squeezing the air from my lungs. Gone were the marble floors and silk rugs. Here, the walls oozed rot, mold blackening the corners. The stench of old blood and sewage pressed in. Darkness, total, consuming darkness. Rats rustled in the shadows, their tiny claws scraping over my bare feet. Each breath I took tasted of copper and terror. Distant water dripped from somewhere unseen. I remembered the scents of my old life: leather, rose oil, fresh linen. Now every inch of skin crawled beneath tattered rags they tossed at me. The guards left me in the cell for hours, maybe days. I lost count. When they came for me, they brought nothing but laughter and contempt. Interrogators in stolen finery, their words sharper than whips. "So where is your Jesus, Prince? Did the Nazarene teach you to rot in dungeons?" They pointed to the walls, smeared with the agony of previous captives. Their voices scratched at my soul. "You lived like a god. Now you'll die forgotten." They starved me, kept water just out of reach, dragged me across stone to a room with a single lamp where the ceiling seemed to breathe. One held a blade, ran it gently over my skin, not cutting, just a warning. "Renounce him. Save yourself. Nothing is worth this," they whispered. My body ached, but the battle inside was worse. The isolation, the darkness, their voices planting seeds of doubt. One day, one even darker than the rest, my uncle came, High General of the Royal Guard. He stood above me, his eyes glassy. He spoke softly, not with rage but sorrow. "Nephew, you can stop this. It was a mistake. Say it was madness. Renounce Jesus. Return to us. You can live. You can have everything again. The palace, the title, the respect. We will protect you." In that moment, weakness clawed at me. The promise of silk sheets, of warm baths, of evenings in starlit gardens with family laughter. It would be so easy. Just words. Just one act. I opened my mouth, but what came out was only breath. Behind my uncle's eyes, I saw the pain of his own prison, and I remembered what it meant to be alive. I said, voice trembling, "I cannot, not for a throne, not for heaven itself. My blood will run on these stones, but my heart belongs to Jesus. Gold and silk are nothing, not compared to wood and nails, not compared to truth." There was silence, darkness pressing against me even harder now. They left one by one, the doors slamming with finality, and I curled up in the corner, gripping a wooden splinter handed down from the cross, wishing for light, for freedom, but knowing in the pit of my soul that this suffering was not defeat. Not ever. The night before my death, the cell was colder than all the kingdoms I had ever visited. The stone pressed against my knees until the bones ached. I knelt, shivering, waiting for the blade, my mouth mumbling old prayers, begging for strength just to face the end without shame. And then the air changed. The smell of rot and sewage vanished in a heartbeat, replaced by a scent like rain on warm desert sand, like lilies. The absolute darkness of the dungeon didn't just fade, it was shattered, shattered by a light so white, so pure, I had to shield my eyes. It wasn't a lamp, it was a presence. I looked up, trembling, and he was there, standing in the center of the locked cell. No robes of silk, no crown of jewels, just simple authority that made the kings of this earth look like children playing in the dirt. His eyes held oceans of sorrow and mountains of love. He looked at me, truly saw me, and whispered, "You gave everything for my word. Now watch me give everything for you." I didn't even feel the iron touch my skin. There was a sound like singing glass, and the heavy shackles on my wrists simply dissolved, fell to the stone floor like dust. The heavy steel door, barred and bolted by 3 locks, groaned and swung open silently, revealing the corridor. He nodded once, pointing to the exit, and then the light faded into a warm glow, leaving me standing unbound, the door wide open, the guards outside silent as the grave. I walked out of the dungeon as if drifting through a dream of sand and moonlight. The world was silent around me, guards frozen as statues, chains lying at my feet, the iron gate yawning open. I passed checkpoint after checkpoint and no one saw. Not truly. Their eyes slid away, as if I were a wind that left no trace. And when I crossed the last courtyard, the desert night struck my face. Cool, clean, endless. The taste of it purer than any perfume in the royal wing. I didn't run. I simply walked into the lonely dark beyond the palace lights, the drape of gold and blood and stone falling quietly from my shoulders. Somewhere behind me, the towers glowed in hollow splendor. I looked back once, not with longing, but with sorrow, for the boy I had been, for the kingdom I had lost, but not for the chains once fastened to my soul. How I passed the border, I will not say, except that I left everything, my name, my title, my wealth, my right to every palace. I crossed with nothing but torn clothes and the thinnest thread of hope, but I crossed rich beyond calculation, for I was alive and free and known by the only king whose empire never ends. When I close my eyes, I can still see those 700 Bibles, each one a silent spark in the belly of the palace, servants whispering hope beneath gilded ceilings, guards trembling as they turned forbidden pages in the midnight hush. Cousins, my brothers and sisters, some will curse my name, but a few. A few will wonder, a few will read, and someday the word will grow like wildfire through the royal house. Truth, hidden and unstoppable, moving with a strength that no guard or decree or death sentence can cage. If you listen now, understand this confession is not defeat. It is victory. I lost a kingdom of sand, but I gained a kingdom of stars. And I offer you, wherever you are, whatever you've lost, run toward the light, even when it costs you the world. Because only then will you learn what it means to live in a kingdom that never dies. Only then will you taste freedom itself. And that is worth everything, everything.